Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Junhlawana. Thank you so much for joining or stopping by here on my YouTube channel. So as part of the many plans that have come from the presidency, as we look forward to 2025, at least I hope there are many other plans. One of these is the announcement that President Cyril Ramaphosa made earlier in December that the National Dialogue is officially taking place in 2025. And sort of the way that the National Dialogue is going to sort of be executed is that it's going to invite a couple of people who are somewhat involved in government spheres in some way or another. I'm assuming this is obviously going to begin maybe from his cabinet all the way down to local representatives, councillors, civil society, and all of that. But essentially, it's people who are playing an active role in government right now who are then invited to come together to have a national dialogue to discuss sort of a way forward or some sort of action plan on how to fix some of the many issues that we are currently facing as a country. So that is the announcement that he made. And because this is not an open invitation to the public, meaning that me, who is not actively participating or does not play a role in government in any way right now or as it stands, I thought I would put together this video of what would sort of be my contribution if I were to be part of the National Dialogue as a South African. In case you're wondering, what is my credentials? How do I qualify to have an opinion? I'm a young South African who, just like many people, is really concerned about the direction or the trajectory in which some of the situations in this country are going. It's not all doom and gloom, at least from my perspective, but surely there's a lot of things that I believe that can be improved quite significantly. So I thought I would put together top 3 points in no particular order in terms of what I would bring to the table if I were to be part of this national dialogue. And number one, I think the most important thing is that we need to start following the evidence. I do think that we spend a lot of time, and often it's been said that the African National Congress is good at diagnosing what the problem is. So they've received that as a compliment by many people, a lot of analysts that I've listened to in the past. So it's time that we just follow the evidence in terms of what the evidence is saying. We know where the problems lie. We know what the concerns are. We have an idea what the sentiment is from the public, have an idea of what is a common view from South Africans at large. It's been 30 years of a new dawn, 30 years of freedom, right, post the system that we had in South Africa in the past. So I think with that said, we've got quite a lot to look back at and a lot to take lesson from in terms of what has happened. And I think that's essentially it. Let's just follow the evidence. It's time that we follow the evidence. There's no point in talking about what we're seeing, what is happening. Let's follow the evidence. If you, for instance, take some of the big stories that have sort of, captured our headlines and our attention in 2024, there's quite a lot of them. Some that stand out to me is this issue of contaminated food that young children were exposed to, at spaza shops and whenever they go support spaza shops. Take that story as one example in terms of how that happened, right, from the beginning, what could have been improved, what could have, been done better. And that is essentially a good starting point. If we are saying that we are serious about getting to the solutions and not so much focusing on some of the problems that we are experiencing. I think experience on its own, life was just designed in that way, and I think that is just the geniusness of our creator, in terms of how life is set up, in terms of what you go through, what you witness. If all of it, especially the negative stuff, is not going to be a lesson and serve as some sort of a lesson to you, then what is the point of going through all of these things? What is the point of us having gone through almost 6 years of constant load shedding, right? What does that have? What does that yielded? What is the outcome of that? Surely the outcome of that would be looking at better ways and improving power generation. It's quite disheartening to hear that it is some talks of load shedding possibly coming back in the more near future. They're speaking about lower stages, but I mean, the past 6 years, wasn't that some sort of a lesson in terms of what needs to be done? And often it's just about getting rid of the crap, getting rid of people who are not serious and who are not committed in becoming civil servants, because government is just basically civil servants. It's a structure whereby civil servants have roles and responsibilities, and the only way that government works for people is if those people actually do their job. So that is the first and most important thing. I think evidence is there. I think now it's about time that we look at what has happened in the past. He speaks about looking or reflecting back at 15 years. And I think it's good, like that's a starting point. And now we need to follow the evidence and get to doing what we've done in the past has worked. Yes, we continue with that. What we've done that has not yielded results, maybe let's just start there. Start looking at evidence-based sort of solutions and recommendations that are based on an insight of what has worked. Has this been good? Has this been beneficial? Has this been a waste of money? Has this been a waste of taxpayer money? And then we solve from there. Another thing for me, which is quite important as a mother of two, and just as someone, Joe, who's really got quite a passion, Joe, and really care a lot about young children, the youth of South Africa. I think that's a very, very important aspect of our society, which is also equally important that we need to take care of that aspect of our society. And I think anyone who is just been paying attention, if you look at festive season, if you look at social media, and another thing, of course, with Bella Bill having been so topical for the past couple of weeks, it has really been like sort of the top news. If you look at the developments of the bill and passing of the bill and all of that, it has been really topical. But for me, more than anything, Bella Bill and the conversation around it has just highlighted the many problems that exist within the education system, the public education system in South Africa. Because now that Bella has been so top of mind, now it's looking at other things. How does Bella fix this? How does Bella help this and this and that? And I mean, it's really disheartening to realize that, you know, some of the bare minimum, like in terms of they speak about early childhood development as some of the things that Bella is only going to address now. There are more children who are not in proper, well-developed, very intentional ECD centers that then go into the school system. And you wonder why there's such a low rate of people who make it to matric from when, if you look at the number of people who register in grade 1 all the way into the end of sort of the school cycle, which is essentially grade 12, the number is significantly lower. There's a lot of learners who do not make it across. Some drop out, some get left behind. And I know failing is part of life. We all fall, we get up. That is part of life. But I think where there is a lot of issues in terms of that continuation, I think if it's a standard problem that we need to address, or the government that needs to address, then let's do that. Of course, not all of it is to the government's blame, or we're not putting the blame fully on the government. I know there's a lot of factors when it comes to young children, but I think that's a very, very important thing to bring forward to this national dialogue. Last but not least, I think, again, another critical one, we can all agree on the issue of crime in South Africa. Very, very, very important that this is tabled in this national dialogue. I think if you can look at all of these three things, you're onto something. If you can focus on these three areas. Crime, I mean, what is there to say about crime? For me personally, when I look at crime, and I get the whole idea of, we get crime stats that are published every quarter, we have an idea of where we are with murder rates, housebreaking and all of that. But all I'm saying is there's two things that are important with crime. One, you need to actually fix crime and actively work on the numbers, which I think is great. I support that. But also you want your people, your citizens to feel safe in South Africa. And we are far from that. In fact, I think there are more people who are more fearful. I saw a video the other day, 2 days ago, of cars, someone I think it was Table Mountain in Cape Town. There were tourists, I'm assuming people were visiting, doing things, activities, hiking and so forth. And, they arrived there, all of their windows are busted out, meaning there were people in and around that area who wanted to maybe get a hold of things that were inside the vehicles, the boots and all of that. But again, these are the things that are really, really damaging the prospects of this country, because what if there were amongst those people, or one of those vehicles was an international traveler, someone who came in from another country, coming in with foreign currency to support our initiatives, our activities and our tourism, and then they encounter something as just stupid as that, where people just bust your window, terrorize your vehicle, steal what is in the vehicle and then move on, right? The costs that come with that, if it's a hired vehicle, and all of that. Just imagine just that incident alone at such a critical time as the festive season, right? Which we know festive season is all about being out there, exploring. We've got a freaking amazing, beautiful country. And right in the middle of that, here you've got an issue with crime. So crime is very important. And my personal perspective on it, in terms of how we can move forward with crime, is we just need to make sure that the price of committing crime is higher. We need to take that price to the roof. Right now, I can assure you there are more people who are plotting to do something that is not sort of illegal, to put it just very modestly. There are more people that are plotting to do something that is illegal than there are people who are probably thinking of doing something that is illegal in this country. You don't need to go far to find people who are doing something illegal or going to do something illegal, and it's simple. It is too simple to break the law in South Africa. Take one of the most oldest sort of schemes that exist. When you go in South Africa, I don't know if it's across the country, but in most areas, if you want to get a driver's license, what is the story about having to pay up before you get your driver's license, or else you might not, or you will be failed by the inspector? It's literally to that level. It's that simple. It is something that could be seen as so small as that, where it's illegal. You should not take more than what you need to take from people who are seeking to get their driver's license, especially acting in the capacity as a government official representing the Department of that department that focuses on vehicles and all of that. I just can't think of it at the top of my mind. But as someone who's in that capacity, why are you taking money from people that you shouldn't take? Now, the cost of getting a driver's license easily goes from, let's say it's 1,000 Rand based on what is official and what is on paper, to 5,000 Rand, because now there's an extra fee, which is unauthorized, which kind of is the rule of the game, an unspoken rule of the game. If you want to get your drivers, pay the fee and just keep it pushing. That is crime. That is crime. That is illegal. But it is taking place. It is simple. It's taking place right now, tomorrow morning, whatever. It is going on, and life goes on as normal. And my thing is, crime, we need to take the price higher. We've spoken. We've looked at it. We've had minister in, minister out. We now need to see how the justice system, how the president can exercise his own authority. It is said that with this national sort of disaster act, whereby if, for instance, if we take the issue of COVID-19, which was an unforeseen situation, and obviously the way that it was spreading and all of that, they had to kind of implement this particular law that says that within this law, which is not really coming from the top of my mind, certain things can be adjusted. Hence, we had lockdown rules. There was a ban in cigarette sales. I know that was controversial for many people. They were, not happy about that. There were rules about alcohol regulations, when alcohol can be sold. So within that sort of within that act, which obviously is only initiated when there's a cause, right? When there's a need. Certain things can be adjusted in terms of our rules and regulations and what our constitution says, just for that period. The president has the authority to initiate something similar in order to deal with crime. He could say, okay, I'm really, really not comfortable with the fact that we're sitting at a minimum of about 72 people being killed through murder or by murder in South Africa every single day. Therefore, I'm going to implement or use my veto to implement this particular legislation, which says that if you are found guilty of committing murder, this becomes your sentence, right? And it's just harsher, more stricter. It doesn't mean it has to be militant. It doesn't mean it has to be a military style kind of approach like we saw with lockdown. But it's just adjustments so that people, they know from far that if you want to commit crime in South Africa, the price is high. That is it. The price must just go higher. I cannot emphasize it a bit anymore. If you look anyway, just go research the safest countries in South Africa, or safest countries in the world rather. And how do they achieve it, right? The price of crime is high. The price you pay to commit crime is high. Some countries, it's the death penalty, right? I know countries, I think it's Thailand, where they've got really, really strict laws against drug, what's this, drug trafficking and smuggling, drug smuggling, right? Meaning they have a zero tolerance for those things, and the price is just high. Some countries have laws that are quite high for littering, because they value a clean society, a clean area. If you are seen littering, you are fined, you are sent to prison, and so it goes. And I think also very important to state around crime as well, especially on the part about making the price of crime a bit more higher, is that we really need to understand what is written in the law when it comes to certain things. I often think about driving, right? Whenever you drive in Joburg, I don't know, in Joburg, I do have a difficult time sometimes driving around the road in Joburg, because I think people don't understand the rules of the road at times, I think. And I'm always thinking to myself, when you go renew a driver's license, why are you not put into a test? Why don't they make you rewrite a test? Or it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy process, but maybe 20 questions. You'll go write that test before you get approval for a new driver's license, just to refresh what is needed, what is required as a driver on the road. Don't drink and drive, example. What happens at an intersection? Left, right, who goes first? If you go to some of these, these roundabouts, these roundabouts on the road, it's interesting what some people do there, because if I'm let in first, it's almost like now it's a Christmas gift that you let me in first. No, it's not a Christmas gift. South Africa's driver or the rules of the road are clear in terms of when we are at a roundabout, who goes first. So I don't have to thank you because you let me in first, you know what I mean? So there's always so much confusion. It's really hilarious. With that example in particular, I've got so many stories that I would share, but just again, a proactive step there would to say, if people need to renew their driver's license, let them write a test before they get the driver's license, or before you renew your disc, make it every year, make it every 12 months. You have to pass a 20 sort of list question, just about the basic rules of the road. We've got a massive problem about drinking and driving. What are we doing in terms of emphasizing about that? But I think it's important that people need to understand what are the bylaws in Johannesburg, in Western Cape, in this and this. Citizens don't actually know those things because it's not readily available. It's very difficult to come and understand what is it that is contained in our constitution in terms of the rules that we need to abide by. So somewhere in between, right? Again, I state we need to take the price higher in terms of the price you pay when you commit crime, but also people need to understand what is legal, what is not. I think you'd be very, very shocked that some people don't even know that what they're doing is against the law. Like, it's just not known to them because of what I'm stating, in the fact that it's just too blurry. The blurred lines are too wide in terms of what guides or what kind of constitutes the South African law system. What is in our law, what is allowed, what is not allowed. I think many people have no idea. So is it a campaign? How do we get this message, all this type of information more readily out there for citizens to understand fully, what is allowed and what is not allowed. So my 3 contributions, like I said, in no particular order, but I do believe that with these 3 points, I think it's a great starting point in terms of taking us forward, because I think we all really, really, really want to see this country moving forward. There's plenty more where that came from. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel to follow along in this journey. You can also find me on X. Just search for June Hlongwane. Until next time.